Hey guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for tonight's video, we are going to be reading some more creepy stories. So as per usual, the cars going by are going to be really loud. They're especially loud today. I know you guys have mentioned in the comment section down below that you guys can't actually hear them, but if you listen to my videos with headphones on, you'll definitely hear them because I hear them and I wear headphones when I listen to YouTube, and when I'm editing my videos, I can hear them. So I know you guys can hear them. I just don't think it bothers you guys quite as much as it bothers me. They really, really bother me, and this wig is driving me crazy today. I also had the best time getting ready today because my ColourPop palette, my Blow and Smoke one, fell off my shelf and smashed all over my floor. So now my Blow and Smoke palette is officially, rest in peace, gone out of my collection because there's no saving it. It smashed everywhere. So I didn't film this look tonight. I was just getting ready, wanting to do a spooky video tonight, and while I was getting ready, the ColourPop palette smashed, so I'm kind of glad that I wasn't filming because it was already chaotic enough in here. So as per usual, I have my Wicked candle in here. It just makes the whole room smell like caramel apple. I don't have to light it, it's strong enough. I'm ready to get in the spooky mood. So excuse the fact that I don't have any lip products on. I just have chapstick on because my mouth is very, very chapped. So please ignore that. But let's just jump on into the stories. I've gotten approval from a bunch of different Reddit authors and I'm really excited to read. So the first story is titled, I Have Never Liked Disneyland. I have never liked Disneyland. And I know what you're thinking. No, it's not the rides. No, it's not the shows. And no, it's not the food. It's the mascots. Something about a silent somebody in a creepy, essentially expressionless costume, just staring at you, creeps me out beyond reason. And isn't it funny how my family is a big Disney family? We go there at least every month. And you better believe every birthday theme is Disney. When I was younger, I'd even cry every time we'd go to the happiest place in the world. At least now as an adult, I don't have to go as much. But what do you know? It's my sister's birthday, so here we are. I got through most of the day just fine, but at one point, something on the loudest speaker triggered a large crowd and I got separated from my family. I walk in the direction I saw them last, and eventually, I end up at the closed section of the park. I turn around, and there he is. Someone in a goofy costume, just standing there. Can I help you? No response. Are you on break? Or am I not supposed to be here? Or he takes a step towards me. Hey, stay back. Don't come closer. The nervousness in my voice was as clear as day. For a while, no one says anything. He's just standing there. Well, I'm gonna go now, so he immediately starts sprinting towards me, and in one of his hands, I see a knife. I immediately scream and duck under the stay out tape and just run. I don't know where I'm going, but I book it as fast as I can. As I run further into the park, I begin to see splatters of blood everywhere. At this point, the adrenaline is worn off and I'm getting really tired and my legs are on fire and my lungs are burning. I look behind and I still see him as fast as ever. I slowly start giving up, hoping he just kills me quick, when I hear a thud. I turn and I see him face first on the ground. I get a burst of energy and I sprint away. I run for 20 seconds before I nearly collapse. I scurry inside an abandoned shop and hide underneath the counter. I hear the sound of padded feet run by me. Then I hear footsteps in the stall next to me. Then those padded feet come up to my stall. I see his shadow appear and I look over. I hear his heavy breathing as he looks in my stall for a while. Eventually, he walks away. I look over the counter and see his back coated with blood. After what felt like an eternity, I ran out of the abandoned part, past all the rides, straight to the exit, and drove home. Safe to say, I don't like Disneyland, and I don't like mascots. And that's how they ended the story. Oh my God, that's so fucking creepy. So that was in the scary stories section, and that was from the Reddit author Antoni-ER. So I'll link all the stories down below, but that one was really creepy, and I don't like that at all. That's terrifying. No, thank you. I have no thoughts on that. Just absolutely no thanks. That's terrifying. So the next one is from the Spoopy Cjades section, and this one is called Don't Live Next to a Mortician. When I was a teenager, we moved to a house in the Midwest. This house was the oldest or second oldest, I don't remember, in the town built back in the 1800s. If you were facing the front door, to the right was a railroad track and funeral home, and to the left was the local mortician's house. One of my little brother's bedroom was on the side closest to the mortician's house. After a few weeks, he began refusing to go into his room. One night, he's screaming his head off, and I go downstairs to see what's wrong. It's about 8 p.m., and our mom was on her way home from work. I was roughly 16, and he was 4. He's screaming that he saw scary people in the basement window of the neighbor's house, where the morgue used to be, and when they saw he was looking at them, they came to the window. thinking actual people were peeking in through his window. I grabbed my phone, ready to call for help, and asked what they looked like and if they got in a car. He said, no, they're still there. They have long gray faces, their mouths are long, and they have no teeth. They have no eyes, and they're screaming. Why can't you see them? Just then, I hear a tap tap on his window. I scoop him up so fast and run to the living room with him. We slept on the couch with Tarzan playing on repeat. A few weeks later, my mom forced him to go to bed in his room again. About midnight to 1 a.m., he screamed again. My older sister was home this time, so we both went down to check on him as our mom was sound asleep, and we knew she probably couldn't hear him through her heavy wood door. My older sister holds him, and I see a shadowy silhouette of 4 or more people in the window through the sheer curtains. My sister asks what's wrong, having not yet heard the story of the long-faced people. And he tells her the long-faced people are back and describes them to her. My sister goes pale, and right as she says that, again, we hear a tap, tap, tap on the window. We ran, leaving him in there. Oh my God, you left your brother in there? Jesus. We ran, leaving him in there, and began pounding on our mom's door. My brother is crying, and our mom finally says, what? My sister explains the long-faced people. My mom's like, well, somebody go get him. I'm not going in there. Which, looking back on the fact that my mom was so scared she was willing to sacrifice us to get my brother, makes me laugh. My poor brother. And that's how they ended the story. Oh my God. You guys just left him in there and ran to your mom's room and just like didn't bring him with you. He's only 4. Oh my God. That's so mean. That's a really creepy story, and no thank you. That's terrifying. The long-faced people with no eyes, no teeth, just staring at you. No thank you. That's so fucking creepy. So the last story, the author was the Magical Doom Potato. That's what their Reddit account is called. So go check them out. I'll link them down in my description box down below. Of course, as usual, from the no sleep section, from the Reddit user Sleepless Into the No. This one is titled, Something Follows Me Around My Basement, and It's Finally Gone Upstairs. I've always told my friends that my house is haunted. It used to be a joke. Used to be. My basement has always had an odd feeling to it. It makes weird noises. The temperature fluctuates constantly, and there are these echoes. Sometimes when I walk around, I hear something, walking right behind me. I assumed it was echoes at first, but it never happened on a consistent basis. Regardless of the numerous perfectly rational explanations for what could be causing the footsteps, it creeped me out so much, I began a ritual of sprinting up the stairs, throwing open the door, and shutting it behind me as fast as I could whenever I heard them. Thankfully, they never followed me up. Until last week. My neighborhood was experiencing a power outage at night due to high winds. My phone was about to run out of a charge. I remembered a battery charger I'd stored in the basement after a hiking trip. Now, I wasn't thrilled about having to run downstairs in the dark, but I was bored and didn't want my phone to die. At first, everything was fine. I was rummaging around looking for my charger, getting frustrated with myself for not remembering exactly where I put it. The wind was raging outside, so I didn't hear them at first. The footsteps were walking on their own, and they were coming towards me. As they got louder, I was alerted to their presence and forced myself to turn around. Nothing but darkness. I bolted upstairs with the footsteps close on my trail, but slightly out of sync of my own. It sounded like a heartbeat. I made it to the top, opened the door, and slammed it shut behind me. I heard something bang into the wood, followed by footsteps getting fainter. It had gone back down. I breathed a sigh of relief. Fuck that shit. I moved a chair under the doorknob, just in case. A couple of days ago, I decided to invite some of my friends over to stay the night. We'd been watching old paranormal shows and wanting to conduct our own investigation. I offered up my basement. I hadn't been back since the power outage. We bought a temperature reader, spirit box, and headlamps, as well as brought our own cameras and flashlights. Looking back, it was certainly overkill and a little ridiculous, but the humor of it eased my fear of returning to the basement. I wanted my house back. 2 of my friends stayed upstairs, and the other 3 went down into the basement with me. We were cracking jokes to the lead up, but it was clear that the mood was tense. I moved the chair out from under the doorknob, and we carefully opened the door and peered inside. Everything looked normal. I let out a sigh. At least the thing hasn't trashed my stuff. Slowly, we all made our way down the stairs. We left the lights off and used flashlights to see in front of us. After about half an hour of fiddling with the temperature reader and the spirit box and getting no significant results, we were about to call it a night. This was until we realized our mistake. We had left the basement door open. We hadn't heard from our 2 friends we'd left behind since we entered the basement, but we were so caught up in our investigation, we hadn't even noticed. The 4 of us practically threw ourselves up the stairs, calling their names the entire way up. They never responded. We made our way up, only to find an empty room. Our friends had disappeared entirely. no screams, no loud noises, nothing. The police never found them. Every few days, another person goes missing. In the lead up to their disappearance, some of the victims reported hearing footsteps behind them. Every time they appear, they get louder. Please lock your doors, and if you ever hear something walking up behind you, run. I'm sorry. And that's how they ended the story. Oh my God, no! That's terrifying! The Instagram story was sent in a couple of days ago, and I'm really, really excited to read it because it's really creepy. And I'm super glad that you guys are starting to send me your personal stories because that's really fun. And I absolutely love it when you guys message me on my socials and send me your stories because it just makes it even more creepier when it's like things that have actually happened to you and you can straight up tell me that, yeah, this is real, this is my life. Like, terrifying. All right, so this one's really long. I'm really excited. So this is from the Instagram user Brittany Alexandra. She says, "Hey, nice to meet you, also Canadian. Just recently came across your YouTube channel and have been binging your scary and paranormal stories. So addicting. Also, I'm totally with you on your love for candles. I know you do a mix of true and fictional stories, so I wanted to share some of my experiences growing up. I hope this makes sense. I know there are quite a few non-believers out there, so to give some context to my story, I'll start with this. When I was 8 years old, I had my first experience with death, when my grandma had passed away. Despite being super close with her, or maybe because of this, she never told anyone that she was dying from cancer. She suffered in silence and completely alone with several different types of cancer. To this day, 2 decades later, I still think about her strength when I feel like giving up because I feel too weak or not good enough. Not only did she not tell anyone about being ill, she also refused treatment. Because she wasn't going through any chemo or radiation therapy, she wasn't showing any visible signs of being sick. The only hint that there could have been something wrong, in hindsight, was her self-medicating with alcohol to help numb her pain. But as an 8-year-old, I was ignorant to any of this. My grandma was my hero, even before finding out about all of this years later. She allowed me to be the free spirit that I was as a child, and I loved our visits so much. So now, it's September of 1999, and I remember this evening so clearly. It's burned into my mind probably until my final days. I'm eating dinner with my parents and our baby sister. Usually dinner was our time to reconnect with each other after our busy days, but today had an odd silence. Breaking the silence, I dropped my fork and looked up from my plate. My parents paused eating and looked over at me. In the strangest and most hollow voice I have ever spoken in before, I said, "Grandma's dead." Immediately, my parents yelled at me, telling me off for saying such a terrible thing. "Grandma's fine," they told me. Moments later, while we were still eating dinner, the phone rang. My dad got up to answer it and then handed the phone to my mom. It was a brief conversation with my mom barely speaking. "Are you sure? When?" "Okay, thank you." My mom hung up and returned to the table, sitting in silence for a few minutes. After a few prods from my dad asking what happened, my mom finally announced, "My mom passed away in her sleep." In such an eerie slow motion, both my parents turned to look at me with a heavy silence. My dad excused me from dinner and told me he would come talk to me in a bit to try to answer my questions. It was hours later when I was told to go shower and get ready for bed. Once I was in bed, both my parents came into my room to tuck me in and talk about what happened that evening. The only thing I really had time to say was, "I already knew, and I told you that she died." My mom began to cry as I said this, and my dad didn't know how to respond. They kissed me goodnight and began to get up to leave when music started to play from my closet. My mom opened the door and pulled out a Barney toy my grandma had bought me out of the BPS channel. It was playing our favorite song that we would sing to each other almost every day, "I love you, you love me." My mom tried turning the toy off, but it continued playing. She flipped it over and went to pull out the batteries, but there were none. I ended up telling my mom to leave it. "It's okay, Mom. It's just Grandma." With this intro out of the way, let me tell you the story about how my family was destroyed. The following year, our new house was finished being built and we moved in. It was a fresh start from the eeriness that hung over us since my grandma passed away. At least that's how my parents saw it. In reality, ever since that day, when my grandma came to me to let me know she died, I'd been hearing my name being whispered in my ear on a daily basis. We moved into our brand new house for our brand new start. I took the bedroom closest to the stairs on the right. My sister had the bedroom directly across from the stairs. The bathroom was beside her room, and then it was my parents' room on the far left side of the hallway. What happened next started slow at first, but would very soon build up. It all started with small orbs of light floating upstairs in the hallway in front of our bedrooms. 3 black orbs and one that was white. At first, they just bounced slightly, suspended in midair. The longer I watched them, silently mesmerized by them, they began to whiz around the hallway until I lost sight of them. Of course, I didn't say anything to my parents, because the last time I mentioned anything weird, I got yelled at. This happened several more times afterwards, with nothing significant happening, until one day, as I was coming up the stairs, I saw each of the 3 black orbs dart into each of the bedrooms, the white one following closely behind into my room. This really freaked me out because now I didn't want to go to bed, so I ran downstairs and told my parents. As suspected, my dad freaked out because I had made him think animals had gotten in. This is much worse, I thought to myself. This continued to happen a few more times throughout the years before things began to escalate. I'm a 90s kid, so it was pretty common to be a latchkey kid. I would walk home from school and do my homework in the kitchen until my parents got home. After a few months of living in our new house, I started hearing voices in our basement while I was home alone. They would start out as a casual conversational tone. Although I could not hear what they were saying, I would go downstairs to check it out. I was a much braver child than I am now as an adult. I would never find anyone, and the voices would never become clear enough to make out any of the words. My neighbors were all at work until 5, which I knew because they were part of the emergency plan if I ever needed an adult before my parents got home. So it was not them I was hearing. As time progressed, the voices got angrier, and the anger and tension with my family grew as well. At the worst case, my dad had a mental breakdown, and due to extreme circumstances, he was hospitalized for a month or 2. Eventually, this would lead to my parents separating. Meanwhile, the voices and the orbs continued to make themselves present in our home. One night, I was woken up from a feeling of being watched. When I opened my eyes, there was a man sitting at the end of my bed staring at me. He had a soft glow and had a calming presence. He didn't say anything, just continued to sit there watching me. Despite him being calm and non-threatening, I was scared shitless. There was a man sitting on my bed, watching me. Of course, this freaked me out. I decided that my best option was to take cover under the blankets, and that's where I stayed until I fell asleep. I decided not to tell my mom about any of this, but felt the need to tell someone so I can find it in my Nana. To my surprise, she believed me and told me she doesn't know who the man is, but I'm protected by someone. She explained that my dad already had some minor mental health issues, clinical depression, prior to all of this happening, so he must have been more susceptible to the dark energies in the house. My Nana was, and still is, convinced that the black orbs were bad spirits, and the white orb was the spirit protecting me. My parents officially separated, and we moved out of this house. I had just turned 11 by the time we moved. After we left, all the strange things stopped. I've never been bothered again since. I also think it's important to note that my dad made a full recovery and is living a happy and full life. I'm so happy that your dad got better. I'm really sorry that your parents got separated and you had to deal with all of this. That's absolutely terrifying and awful. I could not imagine going through any of that as a child. Like, you barely understand what's going on just as a child, let alone having paranormal things constantly happen. That's terrifying. And then plus all of the mental health issues that you were dealing with your family, and then the separation. That's just awful. I am so sorry. Thank you so much for sharing that with me though. That was a really long story and really creepy, and just so much happened in it. And oh my God, I'm glad nothing happens to you now since you left that house. You're not dealing with paranormal stuff anymore, but like, that's terrifying. As a child, I don't know what I would be able to think or do because that's fucking awful. But these are all the stories that I wanted to read tonight. We're at the 26-minute mark. The cars will not stop going by, so I'm starting to get really frustrated and I'm done with reading tonight because I just want to go edit this and post this as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye. Okay. So fucking loud! Ah! I'm so over these cars! They're constant today. Like, it's more loud than usual. Fuck! I'm so over it.